So, for one, was absolutely determined that this was not just being going to be about technology. That actually, the reason why systems are successful is because of the users and because of the people who are involved in it. So, as part of our overall offering, we wanted to create the opportunity for knowledge sharing and for development and working together. And so we created an academy. We've already run one cohort of 40 people sort of through the initial version of it, and our intention is to repeat that every year for the next at least 4 years, with the intention of having a broad set of colleagues who can work together, that we can actually create that highly diverse, skilled and engaged workforce and upskill everybody together. Next, please. So we've developed a learning program, and you can see on here what the 6 major components of the learning program are. I'm not going to go into it in too much detail, but just making sure that we focus on learning outcomes, that we designed and delivered this in an effective way, and that we actually made sure that we had the right content and that we could define what the delivery approach was. Okay, next. So in terms of the curriculum, we split it into 3 sort of main sort of domains around the analysts, the sort of the business intelligence, some are more of the technical side of things, the sort of the digital leaders, and then the clinicians and managers. So some of the component parts were done together, and some of them were breakout sessions where it was more appropriate for them to work separately. We ran it from December through to March. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do our final showcase because we were going straight into the COVID lockdown at the time, so our face-to-face meeting had to be cancelled, and we weren't able to do the virtual one due to other commitments. But we're picking that up and making sure that we carry on through that. But every month, colleagues met for 2 days in Leeds, and formed a really good sort of set of delegates. So they weren't only just learning the knowledge and the technical component parts, they were getting to know each other and working as teams. Okay, next. In terms of the outline, you can see the dates here. So we covered the power of data, innovating together, delivering the solution, interpreting the data, and then population health management and action. Throughout, we invited senior colleagues and experts from across Yorkshire and Humber, and created a fellowship that actually created that extended sort of knowledge sharing, and that worked exceptionally well. And you can see some of the quotes that we actually had back from colleagues as part of that on this particular page. What we also wanted to do was, because we were running this for the first time, you never get it right first time, and so we tested and adjusted as we went through. So the next slide, please, looks at this was the feedback essentially from the module 2, and we had very detailed sort of feedback that we actually then enacted immediately, and so some of the sort of the feedback from that one was that we hadn't had the specific Power BI sort of tools, and some of the areas where people had done some more simulation. So everybody was given each group, they were put into, I think, 7 groups, 6 or 7 groups, and they were working on a real life scenario using that academy simulation data set that I talked about. And you can see one of the general comments there, came from an analyst that it's been a hard 2 days. Information on the other side should inform the BI and further processes. She felt a little out of her comfort zone, but really wanted to emphasize that the learning is great. And I think, that is part of a successful learning program, that you do get pushed and you do get, that opportunity to feel that you are learning. And it wasn't just a passive absorbing of information, that it was very interactive, and we immediately tested and adjusted and made sure that we were able to react. And in particular, we also, when they were working on their group projects, if there was additional data that they wanted added into the platform, they had to put to a sort of, a very compelling sort of short business case as to why that would be required, mimicking very much sort of what happens in real life when you're wanting to augment and link data sets together. You've got to be able to justify that, not just from an IG perspective, but actually the burden and the associated effort accordingly. So we were able to bring in some social care data, but they had to prove that they really needed it and what they were going to use it for, which was really great. Next. So what are we going to do next? The next academy is planned to cover both population health management and integrated care. We haven't run a training program for folks, particularly around the integrated care records, but actually working with colleagues from the YHCR team, we realised that actually there were many synergies, and so the next version of the academy will be a joint one. Next. And we aim to build on the capability across sort of 4 domains in terms of, knowledge, tools, learning and network, and making sure that actually that we can bring these things together. And you can see just from the demo that Steve did there, that for the live data feeds, we're very much dependent on what is coming through from the system of systems. And you saw on one of the slides that Richard showed, what organizations we've connected up so far, but as we then extend that across the patch, there will be more opportunities, and so there's got to be an understanding of that end to end, and so therefore we think that it'll work really well if we bring everybody together. Next, please. So this final slide covers the sort of the enhanced offering that we're looking at around stakeholder engagement, the integrated care capability and the analytics development sort of capability. And some of the questions that colleagues put in before the presentation, one of those was around, are you creating a population health management centre of excellence for Yorkshire and Humber? Well, I think to a certain extent we are, but it's not just about this being in the centre. This is very much about something that is built by you for you, and the academy helps to extend that sort of knowledge and sharing. This isn't something that is pre-canned, that is locked down, that is already just being fed to you. This is something that actually you can determine the direction in which it goes. So I say that it's a broader capability, and making Yorkshire and Humber the best and better than the rest, obviously. So if we go to the next one, I think that might be it. Yep. Question and answers. Okie dokie. So we've got 14 minutes left. Ooh, getting a bit of feedback there. And so these are some of the questions that were submitted in advance of the presentation. We've also had some questions coming up in the chat as we sort of go along, so right, where should we start? I think I've answered the first one,